Hi, Arti. Welcome to Reflect with Dipali. Thank you for taking out time to be with us today. Let me start by asking you, how are you today?
Hi, Dipali. Thank you for having me on the podcast. And I'm doing well.
That's great. Please tell us, what is psychology exactly?
Psychology is the art and science of understanding human beings and also understanding their interaction with the environment. Why I say art and science? Because it is a well researched area, a social science area that gives us evidence of how human beings feel, think, and act in their day to day lives.
Right.
And it is throughout the life phase, right from your born to the time you die. Psychology covers the entire spectrum of the lifespan.
Right. It's the mental health, basically. Yes. Fine. Okay, tell us, Arti, did you always wanted, to pursue psychology, or how did you exactly basically end up there?
I believe in destiny, and I believe that my role as a psychologist today is something that was destined. I always wanted to help others, and because both my parents are doctors, and I didn't want to go through the rigorous medical route. The next best thing available to help people was through psychology. So that's why I chose psychology as my profession.
Of course, that makes sense. And I think, we happened to just meet at a friend's party, right? And we connected so well that we're sitting together here today and, chatting about whatever you have to offer. And of course, you go to the world, right? So, what part does psychology play in, people vibing with each other?
I strongly believe in energy and even science, different fields of science, whether it's physics or quantum physics, and even psychology has given energy that space and that value today. So, if the universe is governed by energy, I believe energy brings people together. The thing that we say vibing, when two people vibe, it is how their energies match, and that is where the magic is created. A very popular Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung said that when two people meet, it's a chemistry between them that causes
Right.
the
It's the
energy.
vibrations. If you're vibrating at the same level, then you basically feel connected to each other. That's true. And in India, Arti, today mental health is one of the most neglected, topics. People don't want to talk about how they feel, what they're going through. They don't want to be open about it, right? What do you think is the reason behind that?
Well, I would just like to correct you there. It is a changing scenario for mental health awareness and also our field as such over the past 10 years. There is awareness seeking in our drawing rooms and in our day-to-day conversation. And that is why I and you are here together talking about it, because you're aware about it and we are putting it across for those who are not that confident enough to talk about mental health. It is that people are not confident enough to talk about mental health openly. And that is why your effort today is going to maybe change something in someone.
Hopefully, definitely. We're definitely, trying to do whatever we can at our level, right? People, these days, Aarti, are so afraid, basically, to be themselves. Okay. Everybody is trying to fit in somehow or the other, be it society, be it family, be it relationships. Okay. At times, what happens is that, if you talk about relationships, right? So, two people being together, okay, we all we're wearing masks at times. I feel, just to please the other person, just to fit in and, be compatible. Like, there's a space basically where I think today people, they cannot be themselves. What do you have to say about that?
Human beings are social beings. We need society and we need a structure. So there's a popular saying that half our lives we live by the conditioning of society, and the other half we suddenly want to figure out who we are. And I believe that today a lot of people are questioning who they are when they're much younger, because there's stability in society. A lot of the basic needs today are met for a few of us who are able to question who are we and what we think. So the social conditioning as such that we are grown up with, what makes society and its norms, helps people lead a certain part of their life. And like you said, that they are not that confident enough to be themselves because they're back on that social conditioning.
Social conditioning, I think, and also, we are always trying to feel validated, okay, at some point or the other. That validation can come from anywhere, okay, depending on, what circumstances people are in, what situations they're in. Why is it that it is so important for us to seek validation all the time?
Like I said, human beings are social animals at the end of the day. And while interacting, every species wants to fit in, feel a part of the community that they are. Even you see it in animals, that they behave in certain way and they follow certain norms and fall back to certain ways of behavior with human beings.
But does that not stop, one person or animals or anybody, a species basically, from being themselves at some point?
That does. That is why human beings are the most intelligent species, so called, on planet Earth, because we can communicate, we can think, and we can speak. So, with that, what comes in is that when we can think and speak over the years in every community and society, there have been set kind of ways in thinking that has been established. So, to fit into that, most of us, scenarios have changed, times have changed, but those rudimentary, let's say, not value systems, but belief systems have not changed.
Yeah, they have not changed and they affect, people, especially women. I feel, once, let's say, it's a pattern, okay? You are a certain age, then you get married. If you're not working, of course. If you're working, then you probably get married late, then you have kids. So basically, at this point, you're only, basically, coming to roles, right? It could be different as a mother, as a child, as a wife, as a, daughter-in-law, or anybody, basically. So how do we find ourselves, Avanam? How is it, how do you really find yourself?
So, coming back to it, cultivating the individuality in a person. For our generation, it was a tough task because our parents were second generation from a post traumatic stress disorder of their parents, and it's a generational cycle. Today, we are sitting here as a generation that is stable. We haven't seen any conflict as such, any socio-economic conflict. Yes, COVID was there, but the fact is that we have seen a stable early years. We have not been worried for having food on the table. We have not been worried for basic resources.
Before us have both.
So that was, and their rearing styles and their focus, they couldn't focus on individuality. What now we are discovering, questioning who I am, is also another way of discovering the individual within.
Of course, definitely. And how important do you think is, to find yourself and do something for yourself as a human being?
It's the most important task of being a human being.
Yeah.
If we see Maslow's hierarchy of need, self-individualization and achieving the higher self is that.
Yeah.
That you're finding who you are.
So, why I'm bringing up this question again and again? Because I want to encourage everybody, every woman out there could do something for themselves which really makes them happy. It could be anything. It really could be anything.
It's not only women, Dipali, today I feel, even the men, because we should give credit that men, there is a population, well, most of the viewers might not believe, but there is a population of men out there who are equally sensitive and who are in touch with their
of course,
who are in touch with their femininity. So everybody out there who's trying to be an individual needs to be encouraged that they're not going away from society, but they're creating a space for themselves.
Of course.
If we say that there's a space for everybody under the sun, what's that space? We are creating it by doing small things for ourselves.
Which basically gives you happiness or contentment or, yeah.
And which helps you give it back to others in a very simple way. If you're walking down the street and you smile at someone, a lot of times because of earlier experiences and how society thinks, oh, ye mere upar smile karke gaya, can be taken wrongly. But that individual is just trying to send out positive energy, a positive vibe, as we spoke earlier.
Right, that's true. Okay, I'm also a mother, right, as you know it. These things, I think your mental health begins at a very, very early age, right? So, as a mother, what do you think, or as parents for that matter, what do you think is the most important thing we should give to our children so that they feel mentally, happy and stable and in a space wherein they don't have to feel the need to prove themselves to anybody around them and be so comfortable with themselves, be so happy with themselves, and they can, feel confident.
You talked about validation. It's a very simple example that I like to give a lot of young parents, that when you're busy doing something and your child says, "Look, I drew this," and you say, "Not now, later." And that later for a lot of people never comes. But if you go back, communicate, because communication helps in giving that external validation to the inner self, to the individual, that they are important, they are valued, and they hold space. When we say we are holding space for someone, we're actually validating their existence.
Validated. So basically, you're trying to say that making the child feel validated from the very beginning is what basically gives them the
Communicating.
self-esteem and the confidence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Communicating with the child consistently, and also not doing child talk with the child.
Yeah, basically, treating not a child like a child, but as a proper adult or an individual who basically understands everything.
Yes.
So you talk to them at your level.
So it is often said in today's times that child is the father of the man. So the children are teaching us all over again how to interact, and because their resources and their environments are very different from us when we grew up. So giving them that space and honoring their existence and environment helps us come to their level and say,
not thinking that, it's just a child, not important. Of course. Totally.
So that is what builds up a child's self-esteem and self-image.
Correct. Aarti, moving on to relationships. Okay. These days, everybody, relationships around us, if you see, they are so complicated. Okay. Complicated in the sense that people do not even, bother to basically interact and communicate what they're expecting of the other person, and yet expect the other person to fulfill what they're expecting out of them. So what is a pattern that you see on a general basis, on an everyday basis, with your clients, which might help people understand what, how to go about things?
So going back to something that a lot of psychologists believe, that everything stems from childhood, that belief is changing. But to a very large extent, our earlier experiences formulate how we interact with society and with the environment. Like I said, psychology is the individual's interaction with the self and environment.
Right. Just to be a little specific, okay, let's bring it down. Just, if we talk about relationships to a boyfriend, girlfriend, or say a husband and wife.
Yeah, so going by that, just connecting the dots of what we were speaking, that how you're treated as a child, how your self-image is made, is what comes back to you in your adult relationships. And the choices that you make, how you interact, is because somewhere that little child in you needs that validation, needs that reassurance. And the conflict that people create is they haven't been spoken to, space hasn't been held for them.
So basically, they're trying to feel and get what they did not get in the childhood. Can we say that? Yeah.
So a lot of times the conflict comes from unmet needs and things that they haven't resolved within themselves.
Right.
As an individual in relationships, you have to work on yourself. Only then you can work along with your partner, not with your partner.
True.
Many people will say with your partner, but it's along.
Yeah, along. Why? Because I think, till the time you are not healed, till the time you are not in a space where you are happy and, mentally healthy, okay?
Yeah.
Just to talk it like that, you cannot give happiness around you or to people around you.
It is not even, nobody can be always mentally healthy and happy. We all are a work in progress.
Yeah.
Something in the environment will disturb us. Some little thing, somebody else's attitude will affect us. And then our interactions in our immediate relationships get affected, especially between a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife.
How do you deal with that? I'm sure this is something that everybody is going through, on a daily basis. So what is the best one tip that you would like to, basically?
One tip, communication.
Of course.
If you want to ask your partner, how was your day? Not as a mandate, but hey, how was your day? Do you want to talk about it now or when you have processed it? Just changing the words.
Something so simple. Yeah. But or at least, the other person feels hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to, when we talk about communication in relationships, it's also about caring and connecting with another person. Just the way you're connecting with your child, you're connecting with the spouse as well, with the partner as well. Because everybody needs that validation to feel that they exist. So if your partner has had a rough day, you can see that and you ask them, how was your day? So this term has become very, very negative also. कि हाँ, कोई सिर्फ पूछने के लिए पूछ रहा है. But if you put the care and connect with them and then ask them, the response will be different.
Let me just give a one-liner out there. Okay, so instead of asking, okay, how was your day? How do you make somebody feel so loved and special? What do you ask them?
Well, you can change it to saying, what do you need today? What do you need from me today? What would you like to have? It is not always saying, I love you, but it is the smaller acts.
Something. Yeah.
The smaller acts. That, hey, have you had your coffee? Or have you had your meal? Or not asking if you know that you're...
Just the basics.
Yeah, just the basis. If you know your spouse...
Yes, there are people, Aarti, okay, when these things also are not taken in a very positive manner, okay? We are very privileged, okay? We feel thankful to God because we have good partners in our lives and everything. However, at the same time, there are people, okay, if you basically ask them, oh, did you have this? Oh, did you have that? Oh, how's it going? It could become, some people might feel choked as well, right? So where do you draw the boundary? Where do you draw the line?
See, it is all about working on yourself as an individual. If something is irking you about somebody asking you, they come from a genuine space and it is irking you. So it's showing you a mirror there and then. Maybe you need to ask yourself, why am I feeling like that? What is making me feel like that? And how can I resolve it? So when we come to the how of resolving it, mental health professionals like myself are there to extend help in solving your inner conflicts that can just go down to your previous interactions in relationships, your previous interactions as children with adults. Wherein
basically it's coming from somewhere who is just sort of bringing it out in some
other way. And that is where an informed partner, I would like to put it out there, an informed partner, a partner who is holding space for you, will say, okay, fine. If it's not something that is vibing with you right now, I won't say it. I won't refer it to like that.
It's for either one of them, basically, to understand and figure it out.
Yeah. It's a constant communication. And yes, some people do feel choked with a lot of communication. Those are your styles. You need to understand what the other person is comfortable in.
And appreciate it.
Yeah. And sometimes you, the individual. You show a lot of love, and that's you.
Who you are. Of course.
Yeah. So your partner has to understand that that's the way you vibe.
Of course. And what do you have to say, about boundaries in relationships, Aarti? Because, this is something that a lot of people bring up, okay? And I think it's important to okay? So what exactly are boundaries when it comes to relationships? And when is the time, when should, one realize that now is the time, is to say no, or this is not working out fine? How do you decide that?
First of all, let me just give you a simple example of what are boundaries. Boundaries are basically your own belief systems when they are getting challenged, or your own feelings when they are getting invalidated, and you don't want to extend yourself in that environment or in that scenario. Then you have to set up a boundary And it begins from your individual level. You need to understand what are your likes and dislikes. Then when it comes in relationships, you need to understand what are your partner's likes and dislikes. And then find a middle path as in couple to convey to other people in society that this is what as a couple we are comfortable in interacting with and we are not comfortable in taking forward. A lot of times for Indian couples, adjusting with their families, with the in-laws, both side in-laws, friends, cousins becomes challenging. So there, if they communicate between themselves and they connect and say, okay, these are the things that they are comfortable with interacting with others about, and these are the things that they keep in the sanctity of the relationship.
Relationship needs to be solid before anything else.
And the individual needs to be solid or in the process of being solid. You need to know that where you draw the line and where your partner draws the line.
Okay, just for the sake of an example. Okay, you know where to draw the line. This is something in, particular that you do not like or do not approve of. But now at the same time, the other person or your partner is not able to understand. Okay, because people go through this. Okay. So now what do you do?
So now it comes down to a very basic thing. You're aware about it. You're trying to adjust. But what about the adaptation in that process? So the adaptation comes in that you have to let the other person be the individual that they are. Sometimes we come from core beliefs and thinkings or likes or dislikes that are very hard to let go. It's very difficult for an adult individual to let go. So the other person just needs to understand. But if it is something that is causing you an emotional or a physical or a mental strain, then you have to communicate it to your partner. For example, a lot of young couples these days find it difficult to live in different cities or have to live because of their work, long distance. Yeah. So if they're not comfortable in a long distance relationship, then they have to communicate it to their partner. Or even if somebody is traveling a lot, a married couple, one of them is traveling a lot and the other person feels everything falls on them. A very simple example, you need to communicate that, hey, I need you to be there more often.
But it's easier said than done, Aati, because sometimes when people are doing it, they're not doing it because they want to do it. It's because they don't have a choice, right?
Yeah, but then that's what I tell a lot of young couples that come to me, that when they say a relationship is 100%, let's break down what the 100% is. So you work 50%, the other person works 50%, and you meet at a midpoint, and that 50 is the individual's 100.
So individuals 100 or the relationships 100? Like
individuals 100, because then a lot of
individuals 100 because it's
50-50.
Yeah, so basically you have to compromise and just
there are two environments coming together.
Yeah.
In any relationship, whether it's a parent-child relationship, whether it's a boyfriend-girlfriend or a married relationship, or even with your in-laws or friends.
There are times when people cannot come to this midpoint, and yet there are so many couples, okay, who will not come out, and say it, but they're still living together. Okay, they haven't found the midpoint yet after so many years. Why are people so afraid to walk out of relationships if it's not making them, happy or giving them what they want?
Because there's still a generation that believes that they're trying, but they forget that this strain on them mentally is not making them live it their 100%. And it is only another person or a third party view that can make you realize that something is not fitting in.
What do you, have to say as a psychologist? Is it the right thing to do once you feel that, okay, this is it? Okay, when do you exactly actually decide that this is it? How? When? What should be the point? That, okay, this is it. It's not working. Okay, we can't try any further and we walk out.
Are you emotionally distressed? Are you emotionally drained out? Do you feel a burnout in the relationship? Or there's some kind of physical abuse where you draw the line that you have tried enough, Divorces are high today in our urban scenarios because there are two individuals who try quite a bit to come to an emotional compatibility, but they are not able to. We also need to give light to the fact that the environment and scenarios change so quickly. एक belief आपने change किया दोनों ने एक दूसरे की तरफ, फिर कोई लाइफ हैपनिंग हो गई जिसकी वजह से फिर एक और आपके अंदर ट्रिगर आ गया. जब तक आप वो रिजॉल्व करते हो तो एक और आ गया. So it's a constant process, and how much an individual is willing to give into the process.
Yeah, of course.
Earlier generation would be more of
Earlier
the
generation, Aarti, I think in earlier generations, they did not even consider this an option.
they didn't have the choices.
Yeah.
They didn't have the individuality as we spoke earlier because there was lack of economic stability. A woman wasn't earning independent. Today, women are mentally independent and also economically independent to be able to
yes. So today they do not, have to really rely on the husband in most cases.
In urban India, yes.
In urban India, of course.
And most of us are educated enough that even if somebody
doing something just now, then you can,
go back and do it. And there are so many career opportunities and ways to develop yourself that it's always a choice available. So with the availability of choice, the fact that the individual makes that choice and is concerned about their well-being, their mental health.
Right.
So see, like I said, we're not talking about it openly, but we're doing things for our own mental health in our own way.
Yeah.
As a community.
Of course. This has been so informative. I'm sure people are really going to get a lot of insight on a lot of topics, whatever we discussed. Okay, Rakti, just maybe we're going to share something, some of your experience, something that's close to your heart in this, in so many years of your practice, which...
That's an interesting question. So I strongly believe that it's been a privilege for me to see so many people go through that change. And when in a session, a person gets an insight that helps me facilitate the change, that's the most beautiful moment. Sometimes it's frustrating. Yes, as a profession, psychologists are lonely and we go through our own ups and downs. But when you see somebody bettering their life, changing a thought process and changing their communication patterns, and then trying to live a fulfilled life,
with your help,
you feel very
doing, and now people have become more accepting of it as well. Earlier, it used to be a taboo. Now, I think people are opening up. If there's a problem, people would go to a psychologist, I'd say.
In our socioeconomic section and in the urban India that we are talking to today.
Yeah.
But there's still a huge population that is just struggling with the fact that if you're having pagal bol denge. Exactly. A simple thing like we have heard it, tu to pagal hai. If you're going through something, if you're a little sensitive. In school, when we were younger, our own friends have said, oh, you're pagal. So you're invalidating and dismissing the individual's feeling rather than just changing the way and saying, hey, you're feeling this. Okay.
Why? I need to find out why I'm feeling like that.
Once you start talking, our best psychologists are our friends and family because they understand us.
Right.
Even after talking to them, if you cannot resolve anything within yourself, then you reach out to mental health professionals who help you from an unbiased view and in a confidential manner to solve your inner conflict.
Right. Since people are opening up, like we just discussed, Aarti, what do you think is the scope of, people now anybody wants to pursue psychology? Okay, let's say, what do you think is the scope of psychology in the coming years?
It's a beautiful scope. The entire field of psychology has different subfields and niches, and you can develop yourself through training, through a proper channel of doing your bachelor's and master's, and then picking up the skills. I trained myself earlier as a child psychologist, but during that period, I figured out I am able to pick up the emotions and the conflicts of the parents better.
Oh, so you don't do such. Right.
to dealing with adults. And then throughout the last 8 or 10 years of being a psychologist, what I've experienced is that a lot of clients of mine have been dealing with grief and loss, with relationship issues, and also stress and anxiety management. So I had to train myself, upgrade my skills as my clients kept coming. So I've been on my toes because my clients have kept me on my toes.
Of course,
Yes.
of course. I feel the calm sitting right next to you. Maybe
Thank
I'm
you.
coming in, for a session soon. This has been one.
I hope you don't have to.
No. This is not something that why do we relate it to a problem? Maybe you come, you talk, you feel happy. There are things in your heart. Sometimes you cannot talk on, even when it comes to family, right? So I think everybody should normalize it. Going to a psychologist doesn't mean you have a problem. Yeah.
It could only mean that you're trying to maintain your individuality and enhance it.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Aarti. This has been wonderful. And thank you for being here.
Thank you, Dipali.
Thanks. Thank you.